From the Malaysian side, can I call upon Perdana?
Mr. President, selamat datang. Mr. President, how do you see Malaysia efforts and ability in getting multinationals support and efforts for the missing MH370 search and rescue operation? And Mr. President and Datuk Seri probably can elaborate on the visa waiver request.
Well, I know personally because I've been in consultation with my team and all the assets that we have available that the Malaysian government is working tirelessly to recover the aircraft and investigate exactly what happened. And I can't speak for all the countries in the region, but I can say that the United States and other partners have found the Malaysian government eager for assistance, have been fully forthcoming with us in terms of the information that they have, and this is a joint effort. It's not easy. Obviously, we don't know all the details of what happened, but we do know that if, in fact, the plane went down in the ocean in this part of the world, that is a big place. And it is a very challenging effort and laborious effort that's going to take quite some time. I completely understand the heartache that the families are going through and wanting answers. And I think it's very important, and I said to Prime Minister Najib that there should be full transparency in terms of what we know, what we don't know, how the process is proceeding. But I can tell you that the United States is absolutely committed to providing whatever resources and assets that we can, and that the Malaysian government has been very welcoming of that assistance. On the visa waiver program, the way it works in the United States, we've got a very clear set of laws and provisions in terms of how how a country qualifies to be part of the visa waiver program. And the Prime Minister raised this issue with me, and my team is prepared to work with the Malaysian government to go through the various steps. Typically it takes some time. It's not something that happens overnight, because we have to make sure that the kinds of information sharing, the reporting about lost and stolen passports, terrorist watch lists, that all those pieces are in place before it's facilitated. Given the growing and expanding trade that exists and the people-to-people relations between Malaysia and the United States, I want to make sure that we can start down a path. It may take a little bit of time, but we welcome the opportunity to engage with the government on this issue.
Sorry, the last question, Major Garrett of CBS News.
Prime Minister Najib, good afternoon. Thank you for your hospitality, sir. Mr. President, you said at your press conference in Seoul, you expressed some frustration with the narrative that military force is the best response to difficult foreign policy challenges. I invite you to expand on that if you want to, but I'm more curious about what you said right after that. There are many tools in the American toolbox to advance foreign policy interests. As you know, one of those tools is for America to use her prestige to speak out on behalf of human rights, racial tolerance, political accountability, and free speech. As you well know, Mr. President, those issues are up for grabs in Malaysia right now, and they're probably best symbolized by the precarious legal position of Anwar Ibrahim, the opposition political leader in this country. Former Vice President Al Gore has taken up his cause, as has Human Rights Watch and other international lawyers interested in human rights. Can you explain, sir, why you said nothing about these issues here in Malaysia, why you will not meet with Mr. Ibrahim, and how it's possible for the United States government to advance these interests of political reform when it won't use the non-military tools in the toolbox you described in Seoul? And Mr. Prime Minister, have you made any commitments to the United States government about your efforts in the future to address the issue of political reform here in Malaysia? Thank you.
Well, first of all, Major, I think it's important to note that there is not a meeting I have around the world where issues of freedom of the press, human rights, civil liberties aren't prominent on the agenda. And that includes my meeting with Prime Minister Najib. And I think when you say that these issues are all up for grabs in Malaysia, I think that implies a judgment about what's happening here in Malaysia that may not fully reflect the progress that's been made by Prime Minister Najib, but also the recognition, I think, by the Malaysian government that there's more work that needs to be done. The fact that I haven't met with Mr. Anwar in and of itself is not indicative of our lack of concern, given the fact that there are a lot of people I don't meet with, and opposition leaders that I don't meet with, and that doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about them. But what I have shared with the Prime Minister is the core belief that societies that respect rule of law, that respect freedom of speech, that respect the right of opposition to oppose even when it drives you crazy, even when it's inconvenient, the respect for freedom of assembly, the respect for people of different races and different faiths and different political philosophies, that those values are at the core of who the U.S. is, but also I think are a pretty good gauge of whether a society is going to be successful in the 21st century or not. And you know, I think the Prime Minister is the first to acknowledge that Malaysia's still got some work to do, just like the United States, by the way, has some work to do on these issues. Human Rights Watch probably has a list of things they think we should be doing as a government. And you know, I am going to be constantly committed to making sure that these issues get raised in a constructive way. And you know, Prime Minister Najib came in as a reformer and one who's committed to it. And you know, I'm going to continue to encourage him as a friend and a partner to make sure that we're making progress on that front.
Well, President Obama and I are both equally concerned about civil liberties as a principle. And as you know, when I came to office 2009, I introduced a slew of reforms, which include a very major undertaking on our part, which is to abolish the detention without trial, ISA. And our other countries have not done so, but Malaysia has taken the lead in doing so. We've also introduced the Peaceful Assembly Act, and the right to protest, the right to assemble. And within this period, it would be fair to say that this is the largest or the biggest reform in terms of civil liberties in Malaysia's history. So in that, I think you should not underestimate or diminish whatever we have done. Specifically on Anwar's case, it's not, I want to put it on record, it's not about the government against him. It's an action taken by an individual who happens to be his former employee, who's taken up this case against him, a complainant. And under the eyes of the law, even if you're a small man or a big man, you have equal justice. I think you believe in that principle. So now the matter is before the courts. It's not right for me to comment anything more than that. But be assured that Malaysia is committed to the rule of law, to the independence of judiciary, and to civil liberties. As the President said, there's more work to be done, but it also means society has got to be, you know, prepared for it, for change, because what is important is the end result. And the end result, as the Prime Minister of this country, I'm committed to ensure peace, stability, and harmony. That is the most important thing. And people must respect that, because there are sensitivities either side. Sensitivities relating to minorities and majority as well. So we have to manage that, and that's exactly what Malaysia has done. And because of that, we are a relatively peaceful, harmonious nation. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes the press conference this evening. Yeah.
Thank you. We're good.
Yeah.
Aku jawab je kan.